Welcome everyone to another episode of Clarity Edge, where we help you align with the primary trends so that you can stay on the right side of risk in global markets. Let's jump straight into the chart here by looking at Bitcoin. And by the way, if you like these daily short technical analysis videos and you want more of them, hit that like and subscribe. Every single day I'm giving you updates on everything I'm doing in the markets and the setups and charts that I think you should care about, basically. All right, so we're going to be looking at Bitcoin here first as always, and like we explained in yesterday's video, we are coming up and testing that range EQ area right now. Let's take a look at volume. What is volume doing? Very weak volume here. No real interest in this downtrend whatsoever. No, seems to be less and less interest in this range over all, which is generally a good thing. You know, I wouldn't say like low volume in the range, and then perhaps volume picking up and spiking on a potential breakout. But we are right now testing the range EQ, the middle of the range right now for Bitcoin. If we add the fibs here, we can see that we are right now testing that 0.618, or on the previous 4-hour candle we tested at 0.618 fib. This is obviously an important resistance zone for Bitcoin, but overall we're just in a range right here, and this is not much to say on Bitcoin. I will be perhaps looking to some type of short-term swing trade if we break above this level, right? And if that happens, I might be interested in potentially taking a trade up from that breakout above the range highs up to the area between 80 to 85k, but that will be a smaller position because it is against the primary trend, and primary trend is bearish. So actually what I would like to see as well is if we can perhaps get a, let me add the accumulation distribution indicator here. If we could perhaps see a test of this resistance and potentially a breakout on low volume again, and with the accumulation distribution indicator not spiking and creating new highs on the daily, because I will then short that breakout, because it then volume is not confirming the breakout, and I would view that as a fake out. I mean, shorting resistance or shorting a fake out in a bear market is usually a good idea. Let's take a quick look at some altcoins that I'm holding here. Hype, I really like Hype. I'm probably going to get stopped on this one. It's barely hit that stop loss. I'm not trading this on Tradify Crypto, so this is not a spot trade. It's just on my evaluation CAD with them. This is also, you know, they kind of like that as an entry. You know, the first hit of that support, that was the reason why I entered this trade in the first place, with that bullish candle here on the daily. And then I like this project a lot from a fundamental perspective, and you know, I can kind of see this developing into a range, right? And we had that rejection range EQ. Now if we get continuation of this risk on narrative that we have right now, it kind of, you know, the talks that are going on between US and Iran, or not talks, we don't really know what's going on, right? But there seems to be a feeling of more risk on in the market, and if that spills over into crypto, which it's probably going to go into, some of these altcoins might run a little bit to the upside, and Hype is one of those that I'm looking at. A short that I had open on XLM is hit range EQ here. I still like this. You know, we have that again, shorting range highs in a downtrend, usually a good idea, and you know, I quite like this. So holding this short, I got stopped out on TRX, unfortunately, but this is actually something that I'm potentially looking to enter once again, now that we've had that strong bearish candle on the daily. I would like to see some break of structure here though on the 4-hour. As you can see here, we have, you know, that local uptrend right here, and I would kind of want to see something like this, right? And if we get that, perhaps something like that, then that would be a very solid short for me. Let's tweak. What is it with me today? I can barely speak. Let's take a look at the forex market. Here we're looking at AUD NZD, the position is looking great. As we talked about yesterday, in yesterday's video, we wanted to see a breakout above that local resistance we see here on the 4-hour, and that's exactly what we got right here. Is RSI and the accumulation distribution telling us anything interesting? Yes. RSI, the fact that we did bounce, and this is something we've been covering in this channel as well for AUD NZD, we're holding that 50% level on RSI, and we are still within that bullish range on the RSI, which is this one right here. So very good. Very good for AUD NZD. The accumulation distribution indicator has not broken into any lower lows. Volume looks healthy here. Let's put on the volume bars, and we can see that the volume is definitely picking up now on that bounce as well. We're getting some nice take on volume yesterday. So I like this. Looks good. Looks like the trend is very much alive. We have reclaimed the 20 EMA on a daily. I like this. Moving on. Euro GBP. No breakdown on this one. Let's move on. EuroCAD is in an interesting area, but this is quite the strong move to the upside, right? We were looking at this range of breaking to the downside. Obviously, we did not see that. Now, I'm still interested in shorting this because the primary trend, according to my analysis, is to the downside. So I want to be going with the primary trend. So the next phase of this idea would be potentially looking at this level, right? So what happens if we come back down and test this level, right? Something like this. Then I would obviously want to see that level break, maybe a lower high, and then break to the downside. That would kind of like, I would view this as maybe some type of head and shoulders pattern, right? And the break of structure. So that's what I'm looking at on EuroCAD. It's just a waiting game for me in trading most of the time. We got GBP AUD. Wow, look at that, guys. That is a beautiful test of just a long tool in trading view because I had no orders in there. I'm waiting for confirmation here, but damn, that is, what I should do? I should just, put a link out from yesterday's video, take a screenshot on this, and send it out all across social media and say, wow, look at that. My followers are printing money. But, I didn't even enter this straight. But I'm waiting for confirmation here. I feel like this looks really, really good for long here. But I want to see at least a move down into the 50% fib, right? Because the risk to reward is decent here, but I would like to have my stop loss down here. And if I'm gonna enter a trade and hold this for 900 pips, it better be worth it, right? So what I want is closer to 3 in risk to reward. Maybe hit that untested level right here. That untested level confluent with the 0.618. That's probably an area where I might put in a small limit long order for like 20% of the desired position, and then add into the position with more confirmation. And another one we're watching here is GBP NZD, still in a good area here, a nice area of interest. Now we've had multiple rejections at this area. Now what we want to see here is continuation to the downside. I would be okay with price moving up here, but I want to see something like this. Now if we get that, then I think we have a good short here in the making. Also a very big move. We're talking about over over 1,000 pips, I believe. So this is a huge move. But I like this, still in the area of interest. But again, we are looking for confirmation. What is the RSI telling us right here? RSI is telling us that the momentum is very strong and it's not slowing down. Accumulation distribution indicator is picking up once again, of course, because we get that major daily local uptrend. What is volume telling us? Volume is telling us that there's a lot of interest here. There's a lot of interest in buying GBP NZD, a lot of interest in supporting this uptrend. So we need clear confirmation from price. Here's another one that I find quite interesting. This is AUD USD, and I will be actually moving this up to the second list because this is now quite interesting. What I'm watching here on AUD NZD is the fact that we've had a big move to the upside. We hit a resistance area where we have not been trading around since 2023, a level where we usually see heavy rejections. We have not created any significant structure above that level since 2022. Okay, now if we go into the daily, what we saw here is a potential distribution range, right? We're not testing the lows of that range. So to the downside, where is the most most obvious target for something like this? Well, first of all, this level that just got tested where we have the bounce, that's interesting, but really what I'm watching is where did this move originate from? Well, around this level. I think that looks like a decent level to have a pause in this move to the downside if we get a move to the downside. So looking at the daily, I think, you know, a target for a trade like this would be around that level. So now that we know where we might want to exit the trade, where do we want to enter, and where should we have the stop loss? So looking at the daily here, we have a looking at the wicks, I think this could be perhaps the level of interest for entry. So if we put the entry, let's see, where do we have the daily 200? We got it right here. So if we put the short entry right in the middle of that zone right there, and we are going to TP down here, what type of move are we looking at? 230 pips. I usually want to see, see bigger moves. But I think that's actually the level, right? So the risk to reward here, I mean, technically, I would just want my stop loss to be all the way up here, but that's not going to give me a good risk to reward. So it's not really worth it. But what I can do is I can wait for a clear rejection here, right? Because we have the daily 20 and the daily 50 EMA, and I can wait for a clear rejection here. And if we have a daily bearish pin bar or a hanging man or that type of candle, maybe a doji, and with getting that doji type of candle and then the next candle also bearish candle, and then maybe on the 4 hour we see a type of head and shoulders pattern and a break and retest of the neckline of that head and shoulders, then I might be able to enter a trade like this where the stop loss then becomes here, because we then have confirmation of that, but still it's just going to be a 2R. So it's not super interesting, but it's definitely something I have on my radar, and I'm going to be monitoring that one. And then finally we have gold, and as we talked about here on this channel, it's quite simple. We all probably saw it, the support area around between 4,200 and 4,400 being a clear support area for potential move up, back up to the major resistance here, where we also have the daily 20 and 50 EMA. And if we look at the 4 hour, we did see that breakout above this level. We talked about this in yesterday's video. If we do get a break above this level, probably going to come up and test at least 4,800. Now, I remember in that video yesterday, I talked about volume, and we wanted to see volume kind of confirm this move. So let's see what volume is telling us here if we look at the accumulation distribution indicator. Now, if you watched yesterday's video, I explained what I wanted to see here and the way I'm using the accumulation distribution indicator. I'm just going to call it the AD indicator. I wanted to see a break above that range highs when price is breaking the range highs. And actually what we got that's exactly what we got. The 4 hour candle closed above that level, and the accumulation distribution indicator closed above its range. And if we look at volume here, we can also see that we had a nice volume spike on that candle, and this is something I talked about as well. Like, we had that declining volume here, but then the volume spike on yesterday's 4 hour candle had higher than average volume within this range, and we also had accumulation distribution indicator breaking out. So that's a clear signal that this would be a real breakout. And even even a trade like this would be interesting from a day trading perspective, right into that resistance zone, maybe a 2R or something like that. So that's not a trade I took, but definitely those of you who did monitor gold during that breakout and you looked at what I told you to look at, maybe you would have gotten in on a nice breakout move on gold. Last but not least, let's take a look at the NASDAQ and the S&P 500, and we begin with the NASDAQ. We're right now testing the range low area. Where do we have the daily 200 simple moving average? Is it this one? Yes, it's that one, and we have it all the way up here. Wow. Okay, so we got the daily 20 here as well. So yeah, testing range lows right here. Currently, what we're seeing on the daily and on the lower time frames, that rejection. That's normal, expected. But the question is, will we be able to reclaim this throughout the day? All everyone's watching the developments in Iran, but it doesn't matter. If we're watching price action here, and we want to see what price is doing. And if we can't get above that, let's say 24,000 area, NASDAQ is in a very bearish territory. Moving on to excuse me, moving on to the S&P 500, we're still in this local bearish range. We are trying to reclaim that range lows area at around 6,500, but very slow. The accumulation distribution indicator has broken down. RSI is approaching that 50% level. If and as you can see here, we are now majority of RSIs within that bearish range on the RSI. If price can't reclaim the range lows or even the daily 200 simple moving average with accumulation distribution indicator not creating higher highs here and RSI rejecting at 50, that tells us that the market is quite weak. What is volume telling us right here? Well, volume is picking up quite rapidly within this downtrend, which means volume is confirming price, in the sense that price is in a downtrend and volume is increasing, telling us that there's interest in keeping the downtrend alive, basically. All right, that's it for today's update. Let me know if you like these updates. I know you do, because I've been getting a lot of good positive feedbacks. If there's anything you want me to incorporate in these daily updates, anything you want me to look at for you, any chart requests or whatever, just hit me up in the comments and I would gladly help you out. Take care, everyone, and we see you all in the next one.